Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. We have two quick items on the agenda that need to make a matter of public record. First of which was in the packet. There's a notice of violation sent by Kurt's office, and also a letter of apology from Decatur Steel Industries that we need to make a matter of public record. So I'll entertain a motion to do so.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, at this point, we have a continuation of the public hearing from, what was the date, sorry?
July.
July?
September, I think it was July, but I don't remember when.
21st?
July, yeah, I don't have a document.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So any comments to kick us off, Bob?
Just to remind you that what's before you is a notice of revocation based on violation of a conditions of approval, primarily from the previous correspondence. The conditions of approval related to hours of operation, and so that is the framework of your determination. Since we continued the public hearing, I would suggest you allow the applicant to give whatever information they would provide. You can open it up to the public to have them provide whatever information they would provide, and then allow, since we're looking at revoking the permit, giving the applicant the last word, and after that you can close the public hearing and deliberate and make your decision.
Okay. On that note, Kurt, anything new since the last hearing?
So as far as hours of operation, no, he has not violated that contingency, but we still have the noise issues, weeds, vegetation, trash, and debris, and there's also concerns about small ponds on the property and possible mosquitoes, all of which are governed by the Board of Public Works, because none of this is in our zoning ordinance. However, the noise levels have dropped somewhat. We've had some issues here and there. We've had a few recordings sent in, which I've kept and I have on file, enough to where we've had a few incidents and I've had to send basically a warning letter, first and final notice. Otherwise, after that, then we'll be coming in front of the Board of Public Works. Weeds and vegetation, every time we go down there, there's some improvement, but there's a long way to go. As far as trash and debris, a lot of the old cribbing and the metal banding have been removed. There's some other items around that still need to be removed, but when we go in, we do see some sort of progress being made. We've met down there. We're down there down there on a weekly basis, at least once a week. We have recommended, as we were down there, we recommended several things be done. The staff that he has right now, they are trying their best. You can tell, but there's still things that need to be done. When they get those beams in the air, once they're in the air, they start rocking, and it's like a giant tuning fork that just echoes throughout the neighborhood. So some of the items we've proposed is possibly chaining the beams down, coming up with some type of a clamp system. We've also recommended bringing in a smaller fork truck of some sort. Instead of taking the forks and just screeching them underneath because the cribbing's not tall enough, they could possibly lift one end up with a smaller fork and then drive a bigger fork in and then lay it down. Then at that point, they need to do something about the screeching. So all of which, like I said, does not fall under BZA or fall under Board of Public Works.
Okay. Do you know when how long has it been since you had that conversation or talked about?
We had a major conversation 2 weeks ago. I was out last week,
Okay.
so it was before I had left vacation. But we've been down there several times, talked to some of the guys that are actually working. We keep reiterating. We've also talked about concrete barrier wall along the east side, possibly help deaden some things.
Anything else? Okay. Any questions for Kurt, Kevin, Dave? So Seth, and I'm sorry, your attorneys, if you guys want to come up and just walk us through what Kurt had to say there and what the mitigation has been, I guess, since July.
Sure. Well, again, I'm Ben Bailey from Barrett McNagny, here on behalf of Decatur Steel. And again, thank you for continuing the public hearing. Yeah, as Kurt said, so mitigation efforts have been ongoing and are continuing to make progress every time that Decatur comes down to inspect the property. Things are getting better, and Decatur Steel is making conscious efforts to reduce the noise levels and address the weeding issues and appearance issues on the property. And again, I just want to, I know this was discussed heavily at the first portion of this public hearing, that the framework, as Kurt mentioned, the framework for this discussion is in the context of the hours operation, and that there have been no violations since the past time, this intervening check-in period, if you will. And so again, goodness. This one. Again, so the noise issues would be addressed through the Board of Public. We'll see. Towards here. Yeah. But so the noise issues being, addressed at the Board of Public Works, and if the special use were to be revoked today, Decatur Steel wouldn't even have an opportunity to go through that board for noise issues or specifically for weeding issues, because again, we're here in the context of the hours, which have not been violated. So again, mitigation efforts are underway. They are having success, and as expressed in the letter that was made part of the public record, Decatur Steel is committed to working with the city of Decatur on some of these new ideas to reduce noise, specifically and most significantly to reduce noise, but also to address any other concerns with the property.
Do we have a regular check-in schedule? I mean, is it just as needed, or, I mean,
We just pop in unannounced. We don't call.
it's understandable.
Show up.
And I would also just add that Decatur Steel is open to establishing a regular check-in schedule if that is something that the board would find beneficial.
Well, in that context, I mean, we can only discuss the hours of operation, correct?
Correct.
I mean, the check-in has nothing to do from our perspective with trash, weeds,
Right.
noise.
But if they want to do that with the city, they can do
Okay.
that on their own.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? I mean, as far as mitigation or detail around that, or anything that's been happening, or I'd kind of like to know what future state looks like. What's tomorrow look like? Kurt mentioned chains on the forks. At one point we sat here, it could have been 2024, whenever this started, and discussed ways to mitigate, and we came back weeks later and there was no mitigation done. So, I mean, from my perspective, I'd like to see some dates, some times. When are you gonna chain the first beams down? What's the first step in making sure they're not making that noise when you lift them up, when they get up in the air?
We started putting carpet on the forks and duct tape, but we haven't tried the chains hooks yet. We were gonna try chaining from the top, but I didn't really want the guys laying inside the beams to hook through. I didn't feel that was safe.
Sure.
But the chains, I welded a strap to hook to it. Straps are still kind of loose, but I haven't tried the chains yet. We could try the chains where you could hook it and, yeah.
Chain
then
and a
I
small
bought
binder.
to rake the rocks out of the street. Bought a little broom for that, and we've definitely done things to improve for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed it looks better in the mornings when I go by.
Sure.
Riding my bike down there, it's a little,
It still needs improvement. I'm not gonna. Yeah, we can continue. Yeah.
I think one thing I would just add onto that then would be, I mean, like you said, maybe the first time that this issue came up, and then you came back months later and there were no mitigation efforts. In contrast here, we had our meeting, whenever that was, back in June or July. Here we have mitigation efforts, some more successful than others, but the efforts are being made. And that gets back to what we discussed at the previous hearing, where the severity and the seriousness of the situation now has been adequately and clearly conveyed.
And the mitigation efforts won't stop or cease because you sat
Gotta-
before us, right?
Yeah,
You continue
we're
to,
gonna continue, yep, from here, definitely,
okay.
absolutely.
Dave or Kevin, any questions? Anything, Kurt, while they're up here?
No, I do think, as far as the schedule, as our visits, I don't wanna come up with a schedule. I like what we're doing now. Cause if we set a schedule, it could be construed.
Sure.
that, okay, they're doing good today cause they know I'm coming.
Yeah.
So I like, sorry guys, I like
No,
these
that's totally
surprise
fine, yeah,
visits.
so, yeah.
We like, we've seen quite a bit when we have actually snuck in and they don't know we're there, and we've seen some things. And that also helps us to come up with better ideas for what they can do. As far as any of the Board of Public Works violations, I do wanna sit down with you and start hitting a timeline when these weeds are gonna be gone and when the rest of the debris is gonna be gone. And I'd also like to, I think it would be a good idea if we had the health department come out and look at your ponds
Okay.
to possibly test for mosquitoes. Because, I mean, you're right there next to a residential neighborhood. It could be an issue. I mean, I'd rather be
Yeah.
safe than sorry.
Yep.
So I can schedule that. But yeah, we definitely need to sit down if there's gonna be a continuation on this.
I don't think it's supposed to be a pond, it's supposed to be a ditch, but I think it
Right,
just
but it's
floods.
full of
It
water
just floods,
and-
yeah, through
yeah.
there, yeah.
So, but if we're gonna offer a continuation for him to keep moving forward, I wanna start setting these schedules. So we get some deadlines and this is where we're gonna be. That's up to you guys, depending on what you guys come up with tonight.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I guess with this being a continuation of a public hearing, we would hear from anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition of the mitigation efforts that are currently occurring.
Got something to say? I just ask you, you're building a new house, right, somewhere, getting a new house built?
No,
You're not?
a couple years ago, did.
Oh, okay, well, would you like your lay-down yard right next to your house?
Yeah, excuse me, sir. You need to address the board. Yeah.
Whatever, I mean, yeah, that's my question. Would you like to hear that every day at your house you just built 2-3 years ago?
Again, sir, you need to address the board. Yeah.
Okay,
Tell them who you are, what your address is,
what,
Name and address,
to
please.
what?
tell them who you are and what your address is.
Mark Etzler, 1009 Mix Avenue, here in Decatur.
Thank you. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, I think everything, I mean, I asked my friend who's lived there for like over 20 years and is always, loves her house, is always making improvements to it. And she said it's not getting any better. So I don't know what he's saying, but she's saying it's not getting any better. So, I mean, I like what Kurt has said, if all that goes through and everything. But my question is, I mean, I heard he just built a brand new house a couple years ago or whatever, and would you want to live next to your laydown yard? That's what my question is to him.
Okay.
Would you want to hear that sound and see all the crap, that is around it? That's my question, and, I'd like to hear an answer if I can, but whatever.
He'll have a chance to respond later. No,
Yeah.
after we did the public comment, they get a chance to.
Sorry, this is my first meeting I've ever spoken. I don't know all the rigmarole, so
Yeah.
I just ask my questions.
Okay. No questions duly noted. We got you. Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment? If so, please just come to the table, name, address, and address the board.
Karen Porman, 715 Indiana. I'm probably 130 feet away from that, it's them, the tracks, me, my yard, and then like me. So today, things were kinda going back to normal as far as the same old sound. It was 79, I think I got, and that was in my bathroom in my house. This is not outside. This isn't even, that would be bad. This is in my house. It's going on 4 years now, and he's said all this time, he's like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. He has not. The carpet thing didn't work. I heard about that, and I was getting sounds that day. The carpet they ripped or something. It's that whole east side. It's not, I guess they could be big enough. That entire thing is underwater. It's standing water. And I have family, kids, a lot that come over, and mosquitoes have always been pretty bad. And they used to set these mosquito things by it's a great big lilac bush, and now I kind of know why.
Who was doing that?
I don't even know.
No.
They'd come on, they'd knock on the door, say, hey, we're gonna send this, down here, it's fine for animals, and,
Okay.
I get their trash tickets in my yard, other trash things, I know it's off of those beams, cause I see them on there. But I don't know what else. I've said so much. I'm so over. I'm so sick of it. I have a map right here. It just shows, well, even up there, you can see his lot. And I'm right,
Yeah.
there's my house. And they work a lot right across from me. I know Seth's not there. I mean, I know he knows. I mean, who wouldn't know that there's cattails. They're this high. And it smells horrible. That standing water smells bad. So you can't, it's, the insects, the mosquitoes, the rodents, just all of it, it's gross.
Okay.
And I don't know what else, how long's it been?
Understood. Thank you. Any other comments from the?
Teresa Simon, 627 North 10th Street. And my question is, if you guys lived near this, your home was there, how would you feel of everybody, of us that complain?
My house is there,
Well, you're not as close as
but
ours.
I hate it.
I know.
I flat out hate it.
And I want to apologize to Seth, because I know everybody needs their business, their jobs. But, and I'm not fully blaming him, part of it is Decatur and partially your council that allowed a steel place to go in to a neighborhood. That, not a steel place in a neighborhood. Steel is never not gonna make a sound. I don't care what you do. And I came to a council meeting that told Seth that he needs to get a crane. And he goes, I don't have that kind of money. I remember that clear back. And it's like an answer to this guy's question. Byrne would have never left him in city limits. My husband worked for the city for years in Byrne. And he said they would have never left him in the city limits. And and like I said, I know he needs his business, but take it out of the city limits. We've got all kinds of animals in the neighborhood now, and we're fighting that. We fight the noise. I've got dogs of my own, and every time the screech, they bark all day long. It gets on our nerves. We're yelling at our dogs. Our neighbors probably hear us yell, shut up, It's like, and it looks a mess over there. And if it'd be in your neighborhood, I know you guys would not like it either. And that's why we are here complaining, cause it's our neighborhood. And we're asking for help. But, yeah, bless you. But I don't know what the answer is, and I'm hoping and praying that you come up with a good answer, that something happens for the neighborhood. And it's not just always us. There's several other neighbors, but they're afraid to come forward. That, because as soon as I get home, I know I'm gonna have phone calls. What happened? What happened? You know, and I'm sure she probably will too. And it's like, it's just, I mean, it's not a bad business. It's making him money. I get it, but not in city limits. It just does not work. And my main thing is, I am petrified because that is contaminated ground. I don't care what any of you tell me, but I know it's contaminated ground. And when the dust flies over there, and I don't even sit out right now because I'm petrified because of the West Nile, and I know that what's sitting over there, all the water. And I have got a paper from Southern Indiana of a community that went together against the GE and won because of contaminated ground and stuff. And I kept the newspaper clipping. And that's what petrifies me, because in our block on 10th Street, there has been so many cancer and deaths down our street. Now, I'm not saying it's from that ground. I mean, I can't say that, only God knows that. But it's something that, you know, you when you sit outside and you see the dust flying, you know you're breathing it, just like the smoke from Canada, you know. So I'm just praying that you guys try to get something figured out, because it's not good in the city limits. I mean, he has the right to his business, but just not in the city limits like that. It's just not fair to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Teresa. Any other comments? Opposition? So Seth, Ben, if you want to come back, address some of those comments.
Well, we'll be brief. I'll just make a few quick final points. First, again, I don't mean to keep belaboring this point, but just remember that we're here in the context of an hours violations, just specifically here. And of all the comments that have just been raised and the notices that we're discussing, none of them have to do with hours at this point. In regards to the complaints that and comments that have been made, all of those would be addressed through the Board of Public Works, and that process hasn't even been allowed to start, let alone play out. So if the issue is noise and water, mosquitoes, weeds, etc., let's address that at the Board of Public Works. I'd also point out again, this was discussed in the first portion of the hearing, but the economic impact of removing this special use permission means the termination of Decatur Steel Industries, the termination of all the jobs, all the money that brings into Decatur. It is a cold, hard stop. And to that end, what I would at least say, and obviously we are hopeful that the board determines that the special use can remain in place with additional protections or whatever the board decides. If, on the other hand, if the board does decide to revoke the special use permission, we would request at least, we understand that to shut down operations, Decatur Steel would require at least 6 months to stop operations, to avoid likely millions of dollars of potential litigation, unfulfilled contracts, etc. So again, while that's certainly not the situation we want to be in. If that is the board's decision, that's what we would request. But that's all at this time. Thank you.
So Ben, just a question, are you, just so I know when, if the board asks me this question, are you saying that if they decide in their discussions, you would agree to certain stipulations being put on the action they did today?
I'm sorry.
I thought you said that, you know, that you guys would agree to certain stipulations based on the outcome of today's hearing. Are you willing to agree if the board were to decide that there should be some other conditions in place? They can't force you because it's not that kind of a hearing. But I'm trying to understand whether you're offering up the fact that if the board wanted to put certain stipulations or conditions on what action they took today, are you willing to agree to some of those?
Certain. I mean, we would. I think it would certainly depend, at least.
I understand, but I'm
potentially
just
but yes, as a potential alternative, and yes, with stipulations, yes.
Okay. Anything further?
That's it.
Okay. So at this point, we close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
Yeah, so at this point, the public comment, public hearing will end, given a motion to do so.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
So motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. So motion carries. So we're now past the public portion of the hearing.
Correct.
Now, we need to discuss how we move forward here.
Well, again, the only condition on the special exception is the hours of operation. And Kurt has sent me the information since the last hearing, and I have not heard any information dealing specifically with he's starting before 8 and working past 5. So that was the original. I will tell you that whatever your decision, if you decide, okay, you're not going to revoke it, that does not prevent you in the future from taking that action if there are future violations. Okay, so this doesn't foreclose you. This is not a one-time only type of issue. And then, as what I'm hearing, what was offered in the rebuttal is that if you decide not to revoke it, they're willing to accept certain conditions be attached to that decision, reasonable conditions. So what I would suggest is you would need to figure out what those conditions were, maybe ask Kurt for some assistance. But what I will tell you is, we're gonna need I will tell you, legally, you cannot change the special exception tonight.
Yep.
If they agree to it and agree to certain conditions, they can agree to those, and that would be allowable. So I think you need to decide if there are certain conditions, depending on which way you're going. And then maybe asking Kurt for some guidance if there are some stipulations, and then I'm gonna actually have it on the record if they're willing to agree to that, so that there's not an appeal saying we didn't have the authority to do what we did.
So do you suggest we table it again?
No.
And write something up?
No, I think,
We kinda
I mean,
have-
I think you've heard some of the things that they've offered and said they're willing to do, and you've heard some things that from the other public, so I think you could, for example, if you wanted something to do with dealing with the borderline of the facility and the residential area regarding trash, regarding standing water, regarding whether they would agree to the ordinance level of, what's the ordinance level?
Decibel level?
The
Decibel.
decibel level,
Yeah,
that's an issue we're running into.
I know, but what is the industrial to
Industrial to residential is 75.
75? So
But
I'm throwing out ideas of certain things, and then I think you can ask them if they're willing to agree to those.
What power does the Board of Works have, or how does that play in?
The Board of Works, correct me if I'm wrong, Kurt, I haven't studied your Board of Works statute, but I will typically tell you how a Board of Works statute works. Those are typically violations, there's usually fines associated with them, and then those fines get assessed against the property and they have to pay those fines. It's usually, there might be, I don't know if you have an abatement as part of your Board of Works where you can go to say, stop doing this, but it's typically a fine situation.
Typically, it's just a fine situation at this point. So the fines can range anywhere from $10 to $500 per incident per day. So for instance, we get a noise violation of say 76, 77, the Board of Works could determine, okay, $100 fine. 2 days later, we do the same thing. I keep bringing in recordings. They're over that 75. We summons them to another meeting and they issue fines for each and every time. And more than likely, they're going to start upping those fines until they get to $500. That's about the only thing they can do. They don't have the authority to take a special exception. They can only fine it.
I mean, the other thing, I kind of heard is whether there would be some kind of barrier eventually erected between on that side. So I'm just throwing out things that I heard. I'm gonna let you decide what you think. And again, I will tell you, you don't have any authority to impose additional conditions. But if an applicant's saying, I'm willing to agree to those conditions, then they can do that.
Yeah, I guess my question would be my concern is, yes, okay, we don't want the water. What is satisfactory? What brings you into compliance with the standing water in the back? I don't know what that means.
Well, first
I mean,
off,
I know you don't want it standing, but is it a
right,
ditch, is
first
it not?
off, what we need to do is we need to bring the health department in and they need to do testing. They need to test for mosquitoes, they need to test for West Nile. If in fact it is found that there is mosquitoes in West Nile, then we need to take immediate action. That ditch needs to be drained, filled in, probably compacted, cleaned. Regardless, the water, even if there's no West Nile there, if the water is stagnant, it is gonna put off an odor. It's gonna act like a lagoon, like what we've all smelled north of town. Seeing that the residential neighborhood is to the east, the wind comes from the west, they're probably getting hit pretty hard if it is stagnant.
And I don't know that there's necessarily a requirement that we have to duplicate, but maybe a discussion. I heard there was a discussion of screening, berming, barriers, fences are typical zoning things that you deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that would make the situation better, but that might be something that might be worth exploring if they're willing to agree to it. That's up to you, whether to discuss or not.
Yeah, I understand where we're headed with all of this. I just want to, how do we set it
write
up?
this up?
How do we write it up correctly? Because I have hearing all the concerns, understanding them. I can hear them from my house. I live a mile away, maybe a little more than a mile away. But how do we pin it where the action has to be made, or else? Because we've tried to pin it multiple times. We've had multiple discussions about multiple opportunities to maybe mitigate. I understand there are some mitigation actions happening, but this has been a long run of very little mitigation activity that has shown any success. And we're back here again. We have neighbors that have dealt with a lot. They're not happy. We have people that are not neighbors that are voicing their opinions about how unhappy the people that do live there are. Personally, I'm just tired of coming back to the same problem every time. We continue to come back to the same problems every time. We can't rule on anything that has to do with noise, but we know that's a massive issue. And now there are other issues being brought up. And the Board of Works can handle them to a point, but they can't fix them, right, is what I'm hearing?
They can always
So how do we
fine.
fix these issues? Because this can't continue on where we just have a constant battle and Kurt and Brad, whoever, spend days a week going down to sit and poke their heads in to see what's happening. So how do we manage through this to get to some sort of finality. You're either gonna do it or you're not, but here are the rules of the game, right? That's my take on it. Just make sure I'm thinking about this correctly. Kevin, Dave,
I'm not sure how we word it.
What I would tell you is you don't need to worry about how you word it. I mean, if you can, I mean, if you have things that you're talking about as far as concepts,
Yeah.
okay, we can discuss those concepts. We can put those concepts, see if they're willing to agree to them, and then, I mean, I would write it up as part of your findings of fact for you to review and approve it in whatever meeting you do next.
Okay.
Is there any infrastructure in there to get rid of the water? As far as any drains within the property?
I don't believe so. We've never seen them. There's a lot of old foundation walls in there.
Yeah.
Should probably be removed at some point. I mean, that's gonna help on when we talked about that as well, because they're driving over those. But we haven't seen any drains, any active drains anyway. I think at some point it's probably gonna have to be pumped out all the way and then filled so it doesn't collect water.
This is all on the property,
This is all
correct?
on
It's
the
not abutting the property, it's all on the
along-
property.
It's along.
But a lot that big's always gonna collect water.
Right
Yeah.
through here. If we don't fill it in, it's always gonna collect water and it's gonna get stagnant.
So the main concerns, from my perspective, I guess, or my comments would be, obviously that drainage needs to be dealt with. That standing water has to be dealt with, probably first and foremost. You know, I understand the trash issue, but I think that's probably a minimal piece of the whole thing. The vegetation, the fence not looking great, stuff falling out in the street needs to be dealt with. I mean, that's just common. I mean, that's being a good neighbor too. Then we go to noise, yes, I mean, that's 1 and 1A, right? I mean, all this other stuff is 1A, noise is 1.
I wouldn't mind seeing a time frame, maybe a little better schedule, such as the barrier wall.
Yeah, and what does that even look like? I mean, are we talking
Well,
like
we
what you see on a
discussed-
highway?
Yeah, we could discuss like the concrete barriers, like what you see during road construction.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Reinhardt here has a salt building constructed out of these barriers. And you can stack them pretty high. I think you can get them burn ready mix. Rick, you know how much I'm running?
$40-some bucks. You can bring them out.
Okay, they'll bring them out, stack them where you want them.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, concrete and noise don't mix. They bounce off each other. I just went through this in Cincinnati. I mean, they just bounce off each other. So it might actually just redirect the noise somewhere else. I mean, it's the right idea. I just don't know what the right material would be for that, and I can't speak to it per se, but there's definitely a potential solution there, I guess. But we'd have to explore, or they'd have to explore what really would help.
Well, the barrier wall is just not one thing. That's not gonna be the fix all. There's other things that have to be done.
Yeah, that could help with trash blowing. I mean,
Right, it
hold
definitely help with
the view
trash
into the
flowing.
property.
Right, but, yeah, that's just one item out of all of them. I mean, they still need to figure out a better way to pick up the beams, how to keep them secured while they're transporting them, to eliminate the screeching, the tuning fork sounds, the banging and clanging. So there's a lot there to work on.
It's a long list.
It's a long list.
So what I'm hearing, you know, from noise perspective, the securement, the lifting, probably this setting down, I don't know if that's creating a lot of noise or not, but definitely the lifting and the securement of them.
We've seen, we watched most of the workers down there. There's a couple workers down there that are real careful what they do. We've seen them pick them up without making any noises. They don't make any noises till they start moving with them.
Okay.
But on the other hand, we have seen other workers come in and just screech right underneath, pick them up, go. That there's annoying. So I think it's So yeah, he's down to, what, 2 now? 3, okay. But then looking at this clamp system, we even offered an idea about a hydraulic clamp system so that they could stay on the fork, and the clamp is actually on the forks and comes down and presses in. I'm not sure how the chains would work, if you can get them tight enough. He said he came up with a strapping system that was kind of loose. Chains could be the same way. We even thought about big C clamps, if possible. You know, clamping the beam down to the fork. Keep it from moving, keep it from vibrating. Anything to reduce the noise.
Dave, Kevin?
I don't know, we've never been put in this position before. Usually the neighbors comply.
Well, you're a neighbor per se. I mean, where's your head go here?
I'd love to shut him down. But I don't know how far I can go.
We don't have any violations on the hours of service, right?
Correct. There's no evidence at this point.
So, I mean, I guess what I'm thinking, Board of Works is probably the next, well, the Health Department is the next logical step, because that has to happen, right? I mean, that's, from your perspective, that has to happen. Find out what's going on in that water.
Correct. We need to get it tested. We need to
And
figure
a
out what's.
soil test.
Huh?
The health department, they'll test the soil too?
No, they'll test, they won't test the soil, they'll test the water.
You don't wanna do that there.
No, as of right now, the only thing that can go on that property, the EPA has done, I've been here 9.5 years, and the first 6 years I've been here, every year the EPA has come in and done core samples. The last set of core samples they did came back clean enough that you can't put housing on it, you can't put any type of medical facility, any type of church, any type of school. But you can use it for industrial uses, you can put a factory, you can do lay down yard, anything industrial like that.
Okay. So, I mean, where my head was, I feel like the Board of Works has to be involved in this.
I got a question. Can I speak one more time or not? It's up to you.
No, we'll close the public hearing, correct?
It's up to you.
But we can allow you to,
I don't have a problem if they don't have a problem.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ben?
Okay. You want me to say my name again?
No,
We would say that the public hearing is closed, but.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
The only thing I have to say is what he said about that there's nothing about, you know, the time, the hours. There is one report that was sent to him. The police were called, and it wasn't from the last meeting to this meeting, but the police were called and he was emailed a thing, the police went in, talked to the semi driver, said, was there noise, did he load you after hours? Yes, and that has happened before. And I called the police one time because it was so late, but the police said, well, we can't do anything anymore. So there is, and that, I didn't bring it up because,
Just
you
be
know,
clear, I was talking about from the last hearing to this.
Yeah,
okay,
in that
yeah,
window.
but
So that's,
it's been happening in
Yeah,
between,
yeah.
you know.
We're aware.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And so we would just respond that that was before the last hearing, and then we did receive, that was the subject of the notice that was actually sent out.
Okay. Yeah, so where I'm going, I guess, is I think the Board of Works has to be involved to potentially levy whatever action, fine, whatever that is, based on the notice that's been sent. Anything else that's going on with noise levels. I know there's some discussion about how those are recorded and what the borders are, right? I mean,
Board of Works is going to need to make a determination because theoretically, they do not border residential, they do not border commercial, they border a railroad that is federally governed, that a municipality is not allowed to assign a zone. So, the Board of Works is gonna have to make a decision on what the decibel levels can be.
yeah,
Coming from that yard, transferring over to the residential neighborhood. So it could be the 75, they could stick with that, but I need them to make that decision. and get it recorded and put in the ordinance.
So maybe what I would suggest, if we're gonna, rather than try to duplicate, that we make it simple. Again, this is not something you can enforce. We're gonna have to see whether they'll agree to it.
Yeah.
But just have a, additional condition of compliance with the Decatur Board of Works ordinances and determinations. That addresses, cause that's what governs the noise, that's what governs the weeds, that's what governs the water. And that way we're not duplicating that, process.
No, understood. I think that, to me, that's the right course, because it still levies penalty against, and a way to get to some sort of finality, right? Closure.
So,
So,
we can, as I said, we can't legally impose it, but I know you had said that whether you would agree to conditions as part of this process, is that a condition you guys are willing to agree to?
Your general, just.
We're gonna, we'll have findings of fact. Obviously, this will only go, again, we don't know which way it's gonna go, but obviously, if they decided to not revoke the permit, it would be on the condition of compliance with the Decatur Board of Works ordinances and determinations.
I didn't know about water, that's been there before I got the property, so that's the first I've heard about water.
So, yeah.
How good are your microphones? This is transcribing, so we might need you to come
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, up
Sorry.
and they're not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so, again, this would be a proposed condition on the board's findings of fact. If they decided to, not revoke the permit, is that that would be based on a condition of the applicant's compliance with the Decatur Board of Works ordinances and determinations, and are you willing to agree to that condition?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
No, works with me.
I mean, to me, that is the proper course. Do I need to read the findings of fact? If I do, I need a sheet.
No, you,
Okay.
you,
I was gonna say, I didn't know we needed this tonight.
it's a little bit different because we don't really have the ordinance or the statutory. So what I would say is,
Motion?
you would just need a motion
Okay.
based on that the board has determined based on the record that you're not going to revoke the special exception on the condition, but on the condition that was agreed to by the applicant of compliance with the City of Decatur Board of Works ordinances and determinations,
I would make a motion,
to that effect.
yes.
Is there a time frame?
I think I think, you know, going to your point, the Board of Works needs to be involved, so that time frame's gonna be controlled by the Board of Works.
Okay.
Which would be, I mean, it could be anytime in the next couple of weeks, right? Every 2
So
weeks, maybe.
basically, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to get on the agenda for the next Board of Works meeting,
Hmm.
present them all this, and explain the situation and see if I can get them to make a ruling, one, on the decibel noises, and two, on timelines, as far as when some of this stuff needs to be done. As far as the weeds and vegetation, I'm going to push forward on my own with the, health department on mosquitoes. It's a life safety thing. But as far as the weeds and vegetation and the trash, and then the noise levels, of course, that's gonna be presented to the Board of Works.
Does that have to be published first?
That'll be in 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks,
Yeah, 2 weeks.
roughly?
Well, actually,
Probably.
yeah, probably 3 weeks, I think, but anyway, it'll be
Not-
September 1st.
Not to be hyper-technical on the procedure, but you did make a motion. I don't know that I heard a second.
He did.
I'll second.
Okay. Never.
So I have a motion and a second. Any,
Okay, now you can feel free to discuss.
Any
You're supposed to have a
yes.
second before you're supposed to discuss.
any further discussion from the board?
You know, once the water, I mean, you can fill in the holes, but the water's still gonna have to go somewhere.
Yes. Or be leveled some way to
Yeah.
come out to the sewer drain or something, and the storm sewer.
You dump it in the street, Schultz is gonna complain.
Yes. Yeah. So any other discussion?
Nope.
So on the motion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So the motion carries. Kurt has a lot of Board of Works work to do.
Sorry, Kurt.
What I will do is I will prepare findings of fact based on tonight's hearing. I'll make sure Kurt gets them to you, and you can. When's your next meeting?
That'll be in 2 weeks, right? Or
So-
3 weeks.
Actually,
But they have, I was just looking to see, I think they have to advertise it sometime this week. I don't know when they send their stuff to the.
No, I'm at this another BZA meeting.
the Board of Works, he won't hit us up till next week for the agenda.
Oh, so they
For
don't
the
have to
Board of Works,
advertise
they
it,
don't have
okay,
to advertise.
okay,
it.
never mind then.
Okay.
The next BZA meeting, no,
Should be in 2 weeks,
2
right?
weeks.
BZA.
Do
No,
we have anything coming
We
up?
don't have anything coming up.
Okay.
we don't have
for the
anything
next one.
coming up.
Okay,
Until the next one.
Okay.
that's
So,
fine.
in 2 weeks, I'll go in front of the Board of Works, and at that point, if we have to, we can schedule a meeting
Okay.
for this.
15th. For the 15th
Correct.
then.
Okay.
And Kurt, as this all goes on, could you just keep us updated?
You can come to the meeting if you want.
Okay.
It's a public meeting.
Okay. Okay. Well, if there's no other business,
No other business.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you.